Do you worry about Democrats becoming complacent?
Well, as a nonprofit organization, nonpartisan, involved in civic engagement, for us, this is an incredible opportunity, because before we were engaging people that were not interested in having this conversation. But now, since this new announcement, people are interested. And we have seen that in our poll with the Hispanic Federation and Latino Victory, we have seen that more than 57% of people said that now they're interested in talking more about this race.
Mm-hmm. And is it just because it's a different candidate? Is it the way that Vice President talks about the issues? What do you attribute that to? What has changed?
Definitely, there was a moment in this race that people were just feeling that the candidates were not representing them, that they were not talking about them. And this poll also demonstrates us that Latinos are interested in talking about the pocketbook issues. It's not about the inflation, it's about housing, it's the cost of living. So now that there is an opportunity for VP Harris to talk about these issues that she did this week, and now during this convention, she will be able to define even more. It seems that Latino voters know what the policies of new Trump administration will be, but they're still waiting to hear what the VP is going to be proposing as her policy agenda.
Well, and the Harris campaign is trying to fill in the blanks, at least in the initial stages of introducing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the community earlier this month, releasing this ad to target Latino voters. Here's a taste.
When you're raised by an immigrant mother, you learn what's possible with determination.
And determination is how Kamala Harris
went from working in McDonald's to prosecutor,
State Attorney General,
U.S. Senator, and our Vice President in only one generation.
A very personal approach. She's obviously not Donald Trump, I think, is the message from the campaign. How's it playing?
It is something that Latinos want to hear more about. Yeah. We asked a series of questions about who has the traits to become president, who can I trust, who is going to have a humane approach to everything. And absolutely, Kamala Harris, VP Harris, comes ahead of Donald Trump. And also, we asked about individual policy issues, such as reproductive rights, an approach, a humane approach to immigration, and VP Harris continues to be in front. Where is the opportunity? The opportunity is still that there is a portion of Latinos that still are unsure about these overall policy platforms. So that is the moment in which we need to start doing more work. The campaign needs to do more work in doing the culturally competent, linguistically competent approach to address these issues with our community.
Well, I want to go back to the issue you mentioned on immigration, a humane approach to immigration. Obviously, the border and her role at the beginning of this administration, overseeing that or taking charge of that issue has been a consistent attack line for Republicans. And Donald Trump himself, when Harris is getting ready to give her acceptance speech on Thursday night here in Chicago, will be at the border trying to draw a contrast on that issue. When it comes to issues of immigration and migration, what do Latino voters want to see from these candidates? What kind of policy is it that they would like to see pursued? In this poll that we did, we know that overall, Latinos feel that Kamala Harris, VP Harris, will have a humane, just approach to immigration for those that are already here. When we're talking about the border, there's still questions about what exactly is going to be this policy, and they lean more towards Donald Trump in terms of who will be more effective at the border with border policy. So again, this is an opportunity this week for the Kamala Harris ticket to be able to define herself and this ticket on what is going to be this approach on the border.
Talk about the border. How about we talk about immigration policy? When it comes to the Harris campaign, the need for more legal immigration to help the workforce continuing to grow means what to Latino voters in contrast to build the wall?
Well, there has been a systematic defunding of the immigration system. Right. And what we need to make sure is that those people that are here that have been fueling our economy, we know that we still a competitive economy because of the influx of people, the new workers that have been added to the workforce. How are we going to expedite these work permits? How are we going to skill this workforce to the jobs of the future? This is a big concern for our community. And Latinos want a humane approach and something that actually makes sense, because as of right now, the piecemeal approach that is being happening and the refusal from Congress to tackle the issue of immigration has been very, very complicated for our community. We need not only a president, but we also need a Congress that is committed to provide humane approaches and make sense to this immigration system that right now we all know that is broken and is not working.
Well, I'm glad you raised that, because while we are focused very much on the presidential race here at the Democratic Convention, there are down-ballot races to consider as well. As you talk about a kind of reinvigoration and enthusiasm and interest in being involved in this election cycle that wasn't there before. Is that true of congressional races as well?
We see it all the way down through the ballot. And this is, again, an opportunity for groups like ours, community groups, that we're going to be doing all of these get out the vote, voter registration drives, to be able to have the opportunity to even speak to them about the importance not only of paying attention to the presidential election, but also all of these other positions that really make the difference in our life. So it's an education process. And right now, because of this enthusiasm, we have the door open to be able to talk about it. Before, we were not seeing that.
The Latino vote is, of course, not a monolith. Does the winning message address the nuances within the community?
I think that what we need to do is that we need to have a serious conversations with the campaign and really letting them know that talking to Latinos in Florida, Arizona, Chicago, New York, or California is going to be different. You need to tailor your message to these different communities. But at the same time, there are arching themes that our community wants to hear and that is important. And the best way to do that is to tackle these issues in conjunction with nonprofit organizations that are the trusted partners in communities. If I help you through the pandemic, if I help you through the economic crisis, if I help you with so many issues, these organizations are very well positioned to also fight misinformation and being a trusted source of information for our community. We know what many of the social media platforms are doing to combat misinformation in English. We still don't know exactly what they're doing in terms of Spanish. So that is why it is important to work with this army of organizations that are going to be the ones that are going to support you, the next president, in any policy measure, or going to be your critics. So it is important to start right now creating these, using this enthusiasm and be able to just talk to community.